This is Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. Here's your host, Mark Neuse.
And good morning, and thanks so much for joining us today on Columbus Concerns on this Memorial Day weekend. And we're commemorating Memorial Day by talking about our nation's veterans. Since the days after the Civil War, every county in Ohio has had a Veterans Service Commission. And it is the job of those commissions in each and every county to make sure veterans have what they need and have access to all the resources that they need. Now, over the past few months on the program, we've been able to talk to representatives not only from Delaware County, but also here in Franklin County. And so this morning on Columbus Concerns, we're going to bring you some of those comments to see how those Veteran Services Commissions are the same and how they differ in different counties. We're going to start off with Buck Bramlish, who is the head of the Franklin County Veteran Services Commission here in Franklin County. Buck, for those who don't know, tell us more about the Franklin County Veteran Service Commission, your charge, and what it is you do.
I've been here almost 7 years, started right after I came back from overseas and retired from the military. And it's an organization that, first of all, is made up of only veterans and veteran family members. So that's, if you work there, you're either a veteran yourself or a immediate family member of a veteran. And our charge is a great charge that goes all the way back to the end of the Civil War. It's about taking care of veterans, their families, widows, orphans. And over the years, it was codified into the Ohio Revised Code. And now every county has got a Veteran Service Commission. So I serve Franklin County, but if you're hearing this and you're in a different county, every county's got a service commission. We focus on kind of three things: emergency financial assistance, and kind of a need-based program. And I can talk about that. So emergency financial assistance. We focus on being a pathway to veterans benefits. Most commonly, those benefits are through the VA, but there's some great state benefits, and often there's local benefits. But we will help and actually file for VA claims for our veterans. And then finally, we have a transportation program that provides any veteran transportation to medical appointments. Sometimes that's 6,000 or 7,000 round trip transportation appointments a year for us. They generally generate from the VA, but we have a great VA clinic in the Columbus area that I think is a great partner of ours. We work with them every day, but they are a clinic, and so they're not a hospital. And because of that, they have a community partner program. And so most commonly for surgeries or treatments, you're referred out to the great medical communities in Central Ohio, whether it's Riverside or Ohio State. I still have all these surgeries I got to get done on my joints, and it's Ortho 1 for me. And so that's the great thing about our clinic is they will provide referrals to the great organizations, medical community that we have here. And I should say the medical transportation program is for the veteran, the veteran's spouse, the veteran's widow or widower. We'll provide that transportation in our county for any of those members. And so it's just a matter of contacting us and applying. So those are the three things in a nutshell: emergency financial assistance, pathway to veterans benefits, medical transportation.
Before we get into those three services, could you talk a little bit about how people can get a hold of the Franklin County Veteran Services Commission?
Yeah, I'd love to. We changed the way we operate during COVID, and we've stuck with it. Quite honestly, we used to have a lobby that was pretty full, and it was challenging. Sometimes a veteran would wait a long time, and that's just not a great way to run your program. But many places were first come, first serve. So we are appointment based now. Mm-hmm. So you'll want to call us. That number is 614-525-2500, 614-525-2500. You want to call us and talk to us about what your issue is, and then we'll set an initial appointment. The first initial appointment might be just 10 or 15 minutes, tends to be on the phone, mm-hmm. to figure out what, are you looking for help with financial assistance? Are you looking for help with medical transportation? And then once we figure that out, then we'll set an appointment. That appointment will generally be 3 or 4 days later. But you can decide, do you want to come in for the appointment, or do you want to execute the appointment over the phone? If you want to do it over the phone, we have drop boxes now where you can drop paperwork off. You don't even have to go through security. So we think it's really been positively received by the veterans. Sometimes in the past they'd come in, they'd wait an hour or so, they'd come see us, but maybe they forgot a form. Well, we can't finish. And so then they had to repeat the next day. And so we learned, I think we just like a lot of organizations said, wait, we can do things differently. And so appointment-based now, call in. We also have a website that provides information if you want to understand what we do a little bit. And that website is vets, which is VETS, vets.Franklin County, Ohio, all one word, then .gov. So I'll say it again, vets.FranklinCountyOhio.gov.
That's pretty easy to remember.
Yeah.
Of all the website addresses, some of them are pretty rough, but that's vets.FranklinCountyOhio.gov.
Of course, if they were watching me right now, they'd see that I was looking at my cheat sheet to make sure I did it right.
Yeah. Buck Bramlish is here. He is the director of the Franklin County Veterans Service Commission. We just had Veterans Day, and Buck always stops by around Veterans Day, and we talk about veterans issues. Let's go down through some of these, the three main areas of concern that you have. One is emergency financial services to veterans. Talk about what that would cover and who is eligible for that.
So let me start with, I want to set an expectation for anybody listening, and that expectation is if you're a veteran in Franklin County and you served honorably, you have some type of honorable discharge. It could be honorable, it could be general under honorable conditions, and veterans will understand that. Mm-hmm. And you've been a county resident for 90 days at least, so that means you've been here at least 90 days, and you can describe your need. We call it a bona fide need. Those are the folks that we assist, and I will tell you, there's two pockets, and I want everybody to know you can fit into these pockets. One pocket are people that they're just like you and I. Life's going on, maybe it's fairly well, but they run into a stumbling block. I used to have an old boss. I used to work for General John Harris. Most folks have heard of his name. He was very helpful to the governor throughout the pandemic. But he used to say, Buck, everyone needs to take a knee once in a while. And that means everyone. That means leaders. That means subordinates. Everyone needs to take a knee. And so if you've run into an issue, maybe you broke a leg and you are out of sick leave and now you can't make your rent payment. Maybe your spouse is ill and is no longer able to work, and your bills are mounting up. Mm-hmm. We all have those challenges at some point in our life come to us, because those are the kind of folks that will help. That's kind of one group of folks we help. And I want everyone to know that can be you. The other group, and I will tell you it's probably 60%-ish, maybe a little bit more, are those that are in and out of the poverty cycle. They're the ones that are struggling on unlimited or no income. Often they have disabilities. And for them, our goal is I call it making time and space for solutions. So we try to keep them housed, keep the lights on, provide food, while we refer them to the heroes, which are generally social workers, mental health care, mm-hmm. Physicians that are actually going to try to solve their issue. Sometimes the issue isn't mental health. Sometimes it's jobs. Sometimes, we send them to Ohio Means Jobs, or we send them to Southeast Medical Clinic where they do some good counseling. Certainly the VA is a partner we rely on the most. But we'll try to keep them in a good spot to try to make time for others to provide their expertise that we don't have. So now you mentioned so what do we do, right? So it's in the last 2 years during COVID, we've probably helped maybe 1,100 veterans with rent or mortgage. In 2019, just before the pandemic hit, we did provided over 1,000 veterans with rent support just in that 1 year. It was a very busy year for us. COVID kind of changed things, and there was lots of avenues for different support, which was a great thing for people in need. But rent, mortgage, utilities, we provide food vouchers through a local grocer. We have a wonderful dental program. Let me talk about that, because I think so much, dental is something, especially as you start to age out of the workforce, that a lot of people don't have good dental coverage. We have our coverage set and it's based on what I said earlier. You're resident and do you have an honorable discharge, but then it's based on poverty level. So if you're at 250% or less of the poverty level, you're eligible as a veteran. Your spouse is eligible as a veteran. The widow and widower are all eligible as a veteran. And eligible for what? Anything from preventive maintenance all the way up to full dentures. And so it's a program that we are always very excited about. Franklin County, the county commissioners are very supportive in our programs as we try to provide these for our veterans. We find a lot of veterans just don't have dental care. So so that's a big program that we like to offer. We also have a holiday meal card program, and that's going on right now. It is 2 $100 gift cards to, again, a local grocer. And it provides the opportunity for a holiday meal both for Thanksgiving and the Christmas holiday season. It's the same type of thing. If you're at 250% of the poverty level or less, then you're eligible for that. And by the way, the 250% of the poverty level for a single veteran is about $33,000. Mm-hmm. So if you're making $33,000 annually or less, you're eligible. If you're a married couple, that's around $44,000, $45,000. So there's a lot of folks that are eligible for these programs. It's in recognition of your service, and it's just trying to bring a little higher quality of life to our veterans.
And it sounds like you work with a lot of other organizations here in Central Ohio. You talk about how you have the temporary solution and you try to come up with solutions to their long-term programs. But it sounds like you work with a lot of other organizations.
We do. So when I first started this job, and I realized that really, over 90% of the veterans, over 90% that come to us for financial assistance get all or part of what they're seeking based on the needs. It's a pretty high level. Yeah. I was very excited about that. But you're here for a year or two. I start to think about it. And as a group, an agency, the board that I work for, we started asking ourselves, is there a little bit of enabling there? And so what we decided is we decided we're going to use this term sustained solution. And for the person I talked to earlier that broke their leg and just needed 2 months rent, and once their leg healed, they were back to work. Mm-hmm. Well, that was the solution. Yeah. I'm glad we provided it. But for those that are challenged in the poverty cycle, maybe that are challenged to have a steady job, have mental health challenges, et cetera, we've got to have a referral base to get them to that sustained solution. I talked to our staff at a staff meeting recently, and I provided some data that's just out there. And I said, the data says if you're experiencing a poverty spell, if you dip into the poverty level, and if you've been in it for a year or less, you have about a 56% chance of coming out of it, mm-hmm. but a little better than half. If you've been in that poverty spell, though, for 7 years or more, it's down to 13%. Coming out of it. And so there's no magical way to find the 13% and say, we'll help that one and we'll help that one. We got to help them all and figure out how to get them to take advantage of the referrals who, again, they're the ones that provide solutions. So sometimes, as I said, it's Ohio Means Jobs. Sometimes Southeast does a great job for us providing not just mental and physical health care, but also employment care. We talk to VA social workers, I would say, every day, and we're referring to them back and forth, communicating, because when you have a social worker involved, I call it a quarterback. You got a quarterback that's working with that veteran. And if that veteran, whether he or she is or isn't going to their appointments, whether they do or don't really understand the situation they're in, that quarterback can help them navigate some of the solutions, help them fill out forms, whether it's Social Security or other types of things. And so we always think it's a good day when a social worker's working with a veteran. So, and then there's, the Volunteers of America has a veteran shelter that they manage, Lutheran Social Services, Faith Mission. There are so many really great partners that are trying to provide pathways to improvement. So again, we try to keep the lights on, keep them housed, and let those kind of experts try to help solve problems or get people to a better spot.
And now we're going to switch to our friends at the Veterans Services Commission in Delaware County. With us today, we're pleased to have the director of the Delaware County Veterans Services, Brian Gallagher. And Brian, thanks so much for stopping by.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming in because a lot of people, especially the veterans, don't know about a lot of benefits that are out there that they could be taking advantage of. And as director of the Delaware County Veterans Services, I know every county has one of these veteran services organizations. And tell us about Delaware County and what you do.
So we're a county office. So a lot of people confuse us with the VA. We're not the VA. And it's a good thing because we can call the VA out. The VA does outstanding stuff. But from time to time, there needs to be a little adversity, just kind of like in any family. So we're a county office, just kind of like the sheriff, the engineer, treasurer, any one of those things. We're paid for by county tax dollars. It's the same way across the entire state. Every county has a veteran service office. And what we do is we help veterans get VA benefits. So that's where some of the confusion comes in, is people come in and, we help them get disability compensation, help them sign up for VA health care, things like that. What we can't do is we can't do an award on the spot. So we can't tell you whether something's going to be awarded or not because we don't have the adjudication ability that the VA does. We do not have any access to anything VA health care. So there are two separate components to the VA. There's the Veterans Benefits Administration, which does disability and compensation claims. Then there's the VA health care. We don't have access. We can't tell you what your shot record is or anything like that. That's all, private information that we don't have access to. So that's the main thing that county offices do, is help veterans get VA, get in touch with the VA. Because if you look at the paperwork and stuff like that that's required, veterans that try to do this themselves either get upset by all the paperwork and stuff like that and just get intimidated and give up, or they do it wrong, they submit it, and then the VA sends a bunch of stuff back, and then they get upset, and then it stops. So what we're there for is to help veterans do this stuff along the way. We fill out the forms for them, we find out what's going on, we recommend the best courses of action. Ultimately, it's up to the veteran for them to decide the course of action that they're going to take, but we help guide them along the way. There's also specific county benefits that are available. So, for example, transportation is one of those county benefits. So each county does things just a little differently. So, for example, in Delaware County, we have several minivans that are wheelchair accessible and a couple other vehicles. We go out, we pick the veteran up, and we'll take them to, generally it's medical appointments. That's what the law is there for, is for us to take them to medical appointments. If we have the capability to take somebody to somewhere else, we will. For example, honor flight. We've taken veterans that don't have a means to get to honor flight. We've taken them there and picked them back up and brought them back home. So if you're in Delaware County and you want to go to honor flight, get a hold of our office and we'll be able to take you there and bring you back. So, we do it with vehicles that we have, and we have drivers. Franklin County, for example, has got an excellent public transportation system. That's what they use, is they will issue you bus passes or taxi passes. I forget exactly what Buck said that he does. He's the director for Franklin County. And, we work very well together. They have a great public transportation system. So that's what they do here. For example, just north of us in Morrow County, they have, drivers as well and vehicles. That's the way most counties do. Some of them have a bus to where they go around. We try to do things more individualized to where, we don't put everybody on a bus, take them down, and then everybody leaves at the same time. We try and make it to where the most a veteran waits is an hour. So we try to keep it to where there may be just a single veteran that goes down with the driver in a vehicle, maybe two, at the most maybe three, if their time frames are all within the same. So we try and make it to where it's as convenient as possible for the veteran. So that's one of the local things. It's a county function across the entire state that our offices do, our transportation. Another thing that we do is financial assistance. The VA has some, social working programs to where, they'll send a social worker out and do certain things with veterans. What they don't have is robust of a financial assistance program that counties do. And the law is very vague on this as far as how it's done. Mm-hmm. Basically, the law says counties have a financial aid program for veterans. So it's up for each county to determine how it is that it's done. Our rules used to be very strict. We've become much more open. With the commissioner, the veteran service commissioners that are my bosses, that oversee it. They're the ones that dictate policy. So it's much more forgiving now as far as in Delaware County. So things will change from time to time. So a veteran that's in need, say they're having problems paying rent or mortgage. That's one thing. Rent's one thing that's recently been a big part to where, as home values increase, we've had numerous cases to where a veteran may have been paying $600 a month, and then the company that owned the rental property ends up selling to another company. That other company comes in and raises the price, say 50%. Yeah. So now that veterans have a hard time making ends meet. So we're not a long-term solution, but we're emergency financial assistance where we can come in and make sure they're not going to get kicked out, their electric stays on, the water stays on. Mm-hmm. They may have had some kind of medical emergency that they've had to pay for, or car repair or something like that they weren't able to make ends meet. And that's what we can do. Every county in Ohio has a veteran service office, veteran service commission. The terms are used interchangeably, that are there to help veterans out to get through tough times. Again, it's not a long-term financial assistance. It's emergency financial assistance, but it's there for veterans in case of need. And it's the resources that veterans have as compared to the general public is outstanding. I mean, all they have to do is pick up the rug and look, and those resources are there.
So if there are veterans out there in Central Ohio and they like what they're hearing from you, they should contact their own county's office.
Correct. Yeah. Again, every county in Ohio has a veteran service commission, and each one of them runs an office. And we basically do the same thing. So the Ohio Department of Veteran Services, which is the state office, they're not in charge of us. They have no real authority over us, because generally the authority follows money, and the money comes from the county. Mm-hmm. The Ohio Department of Veteran Services does not, parlay any money to us. So, but they're there to help coordinate. So, and they work with the state legislature to make sure that the laws are in place to where we're all kind of doing the same thing. So each county basically does the same thing. The flavor just may be little different. So, for example, because needs are different from county to county. So in Delaware County, to where, we have a financial assistance program, but it's not as robust as Franklin County, because majority of people that come in to see us, it's for transportation or it's for claim work. Mm-hmm. We do get financial assistance people that come in, but not to the same percentage as, say, Franklin County does. So, Buck in Franklin County has to, look at what's the need, mm-hmm. and develop the office to meet that need. So every county in the state, even though we do kind of the same thing, mm-hmm. it's set up to meet the needs of the citizens that represent that county. And every county in Ohio is just a little different.
And if people want to get a hold of the Delaware County Veteran Services, what's your phone and website address?
So our phone number is 740-833-2688. 2010. And our web address is long. My recommendation is to go to the search engine of your choice, whether it be Google, Bing, or whatever, and type in Delaware County, Ohio Veteran Service Office. Now, I say Ohio because we've had people from Pennsylvania, and I will tell you that Muncie, Indiana, is Delaware County, Indiana.
Okay.
Where we've had people from, apparently what we've done as far as promoting our search engine, and search engine has been great. To where people from Indiana, I think Illinois has a Delaware County. So we'll make sure you're looking at Ohio, no matter what county you're looking up, make sure it's Ohio, because you could be calling someone from another state.
I know that we were talking earlier before the program, and you were saying that there is sometimes a reluctance for veterans to come in, particularly, as you mentioned, the Vietnam veterans.
Correct.
What is that reluctance all about?
So my father was this way. He was a Vietnam veteran, spent time, 67 and 68 was over for the Tet Offensive. And, I think the war was, affected him. But I think even more so it was the way he was treated whenever he came back. Perfect example of this is, a lot of Vietnam veterans weren't allowed to join, like the American Legion and the different service organizations, because the World War II veterans didn't consider it a war, because it was a conflict, in terminology as far as back then. So that didn't sit well with him. He had a hard time, going into, military establishments and government facilities and stuff like that. So there was a distrust just on the way they were treated, whenever they came back. He told me stories about signs that said, soldiers, sailors, and dogs stay off the grass, after they just got done, seeing the atrocities that they had seen, over in Vietnam, come back and seeing that. So it's understandable, especially for the Vietnam veterans, the way they were treated. So they generally have a hard time coming in and, getting help, seeing us, because there's that distrust, and they just don't want to relive certain things that, it didn't end well for them.
Right. And a look at how veterans here in Central Ohio can get the help they need through their Veteran Service Commission. Just look them up online, depending upon, of course, which county you live in. I'm Mark News. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy your Memorial Day weekend.
Thanks for listening to Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. You can send questions or comments about today's show to Columbus Concerns, in care of this station, 1458 Dublin Road, Columbus 43215. Or email us at columbusconcerns@napcomedia.com.
I'm Tiffany Haddish.
And I'm Marlon Wayans. African Americans are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer than any other racial or ethnic group.
When you or someone you love is facing a pancreatic cancer diagnosis, access to cutting-edge treatment can help make long-term survival possible and improve future patient outcomes.
That's why Stand Up to Cancer and the Lustgarten Foundation have teamed up to bring over 30 pancreatic cancer clinical trials to those who need them.
Learning all you can about pancreatic cancer, including treatment options and what clinical trials are available, can give you or a loved one even more than hope. It can help make long-term survival possible.
For more information about the latest pancreatic cancer research and clinical trials near you, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.
I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute? When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can. But it's just as important to take time for yourself. AARP can help. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.